it's neat, and the costume design, I get it and I respect it, but I don't like it.
When the episode came out, I was going to be in the air, not home yet.
Not off the air. But it seems like every time the characters interact with you, they use like the same line. You can predict what they're going to say.
I'm pretty sure like last week, Dan mentioned that. So the other day, I was out on the streets, and I was walking along, and then actually no, I have a better cold open than whatever this garbage bit I'm about to enter.
I like that though. I want to keep that.
I'll keep the voice. I'll keep the voice going. So I get back in town. I'm back from Seattle, and I walk into my barber shop, because I work there, and I need to get something from it. Now, we're not open yet, but as I go to unlock the door, it turns out that there's a note tucked in the door. So I'm like, oh, wonder what this note is. Your boy takes the note, and I open it up, and this note. Do you want to know what this note says, Jackie?
I think the accent is being lost, like slowly. I think you're fading back to like normal Noah voice, but this time just louder. Like for the first like 30 seconds of the bit, I was like, all right, and then it slowly started just becoming like you're just talking loud. All right, what does your note say though? Okay,
so the note, it says 2 barbers. And then in all capital letters, it says, why not take different weeks off so the shop stays open? Now on the side of the barber shop, though, it's got this big note, and it says closed for vacation and construction. Now let me ask you something, Jackie. You gonna try and tell me that I can open during the construction when I said I was closed for construction? No, you can't do that. So why does this man leave a note? Clearly, he can't read a sign. Know what I'm saying?
I think he just saw vacation and was like, imagine working class people having days off. I'm going back to the factory so I can whip people and not let them unionize. Like, what do you want, dude? Construction and vacation, like if you got to do construction, it's a convenient time to be like, hey, if you're going to take a vacation in the summer, here's a good week.
Honestly, though, and that's what the plan was, because Matt already had a family vacation planned. And he was like, hey, I'm sorry that you're going to be alone for a week, but I think it'll be all right. And then our landlord was like, hey, I got to do some construction. And we're like, oh, well, in that case, here's the week. I was already going to be gone. I'll just tell Noah he can take that time off too. And you can get the shop will be closed and you can get whatever you need done. Now, our landlord did not do any construction, which is frustrating. But I still took my time off and I had a blast with it. And that's what counts.
Really, it was just closed for vacation.
It really was just closed for vacation. But the sign does say construction, and that's what counts.
Having the word construction there just makes it feel like it's like you can't be mad.
That's what I like to believe.
Except unless you're that guy who puts a note in the door.
Exactly. I'm still very confused at this note.
Barbers.
It's such an aggressive note. It's just 2 barbers dash, and that's written normal. But then the rest of it is like block caps with 3 question marks.
Man, he did block letters?
He did block.
That's how you know they're angry.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Nobody rationally has ever, as an adult, been like, yeah, I'm going to write this thing in block letters. That's an irrational decision, 100%.
No, 100%. 100%. I don't understand why. Like, I mean, I understand why they would get mad that we were closed because, maybe they had things that they needed to get done. But I don't understand why they would get so mad that they'd leave a note.
Yeah, there's really no time where I would ever just leave a note because I don't have time for that. I guess I usually have paper and pens in my car, but I'm never gonna be I'm gonna stop what I'm doing and actually I have left a note on a car once, and it was because they had their lights on, and it was it was on the night of Halloween, and it was 3 a.m, and I was like, this dude is gonna have a dead battery. So I was like, I don't work tomorrow. So I left a note in the car saying hey, if your battery's dead and you can't get a hold of anybody because I know it's the middle of the night, just give me a call. I was parked behind you and I saw your lights were on.
Oh, that's nice.
And then I was getting in my car, and then they got in their car. And I was like, all right, never mind, I'm good. That's the moral of the story. But I was like, I don't want to leave some guy stranded on Halloween night.
No, yeah, that would suck a lot. And I would appreciate getting a note cluing me in for that.
That was a fun night too. I went to we were recording the podcast at the time, so I may have talked about it. How I went to the commune.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, for the Halloween party, that was a huge just crazy event where there was a straight up hard drugs room with naked people in it.
Whack.
Yeah, it was. I didn't. I wasn't really part of that, but
I was saying not about that naked hard drugs life.
Yeah, really not quite my scene. Just my friend's band played, and that was fun.
That is exciting. What a great place to have a show at.
Oh, it was the dopest time for a show, and they were all wearing costumes. It was a crazy Halloween party. I would go back to Austin just for the Halloween party. And speaking of going back to Austin, I am in October because I've got a wedding in West Virginia on October 5th.
Oh, nice.
And then a wedding in Austin on October 11th. So
so you're just gonna make a trip out of it.
I think I'm gonna drive to West Virginia and then drive back and then fly to Austin because I don't really want to drive to Austin because that's a long drive just for being there for 2 days. So I might fly in and stay there for 3 or 4 days.
That's not a bad point. Oh, you know what I just realized? We're sitting here talking. We didn't address the big elephant in the room, which is that Dan isn't here.
Oh, he's not.
So
no, this is actually just the same as the Thanksgiving episode where Dan just isn't talking today.
Exactly. Somehow we've already been too positive for him, and he's just like.
I don't know. I guess I just forgot that we had to mention that. I thought because we said it in the host server on Discord, I thought everyone else just knew.
Exactly.
So you can tell me that everybody listening didn't just listen.
So I'm pretty sure
we were talking in the server.
I'm pretty sure last week Dan mentioned that he would be moving soon, but that he'd let us know when it got closer. Well, that was 2 weeks ago at this point, because we had to record the last episode far earlier than anticipated. So Dan is moving right now. He's in the process of getting into his new place and all that, so he is unavailable, unfortunately.
Dan, machine broke. Thank you. Have a good day. Did we say welcome back to Off the Air? Because I think you were just doing the New Yorker thing and I just let it happen.
I'm pretty sure that is what happened.
Okay.
Hey, but welcome back to Off the Air.
Yeah,
I'm Noah.
I'm Jackson.
And it's lovely having you here.
It's great. I'm having a great time with you here. I do have a beer.
I would love to hear about this beer.
If I can crack it open.
Speaking of beer, Wegmans still has a couple of packs of Subtlety, and I picked one up, and it was very nice.
I have to use a lighter to do this, but I don't have my normal lighter. I have a weird 7-Eleven lighter.
Ew. And
it's not really doing the job. I got it off though.
I misplaced
because why would I have a bottle opener on my desk where I review a beer once a week?
Right. I misplaced my bottle opener, so I usually use this pair of office scissors I have to open beer bottles. It works out nice.
I feel like that can't be good for the scissors.
I use the dull edge. I just kind of... Have you ever opened a beer with a chef's knife?
Mm-hmm.
So same
I've
basic
opened a beer
principle.
with everything, including teeth.
I don't think I would do that.
It's not good. I mean, it hurt.
Yeah, I believe
my friend Sarah just does it all the time, so I thought it'd be cool if I did it too. And then it wasn't cool.
Yeah, fair.
She made it look like it was no big deal. She was just cracking them open.
I feel like if it's something that you're good at, eventually you'll A, be a little desensitized to the pain, and B, probably know where it's safe, so to speak, to pull on your teeth like that. I don't really know. But tell us about this beer.
You know what? It's not so bad.
That is good to hear.
So today's beer is actually a redemption arc.
Ooh.
Today I'm drinking a beer that both of us have reviled, which is the Southern Tier Double IPA.
Really?
Which I remember a couple weeks ago when I had the S'more Stout. I remember both of us being like, "This is bad."
Mm-hmm.
So then I found it, so I got it and drinking it. It's very, very dry, but it's not as bad as I remember. And I think that's because the first 6-pack I got of it was probably old. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it was actually it might have just been stale because IPAs don't keep that long.
Yeah, no, that's
depending
fair.
on but it's not bad.
Well, it's good.
It's got a nice flavor, but it's got a very dry follow up.
Oh, very much so. Very much.
It's a dry hop double IPA, so it's not going to be not dry.
Exactly.
It's 8.2%. It's much better than I remember it.
See,
it's very light almost.
It is very light. That was the IPA that made me realize that I think IPAs taste like tobacco. Yeah,
I can see that. I know I don't like IPAs personally. That's why I think out of all the beers that I've done maybe 3 IPAs. Mm-hmm. I don't even think that. I think this is maybe the second one. I don't really like them as a general rule. Mm-hmm. And I think it's mostly just because every single microbrewery and craft brewery, they're like, hey, we're gonna do 7 IPAs and 1 different type of beer. Can't you do?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I get it that it's once you know what you're good at, it's it's not a bad idea to do variations of it. Mm-hmm. But why is there no craft brewery that's we specialize in wheat beer? They're all we're an IPA craft brewery. Of course you are. Everyone is. Exactly.
That's one of my issues with Voodoo Brewery in Erie. I don't know if you've visited there.
It's actually in Meadville.
There is also one in Erie though.
Oh really? They have a second.
They have a second location.
House.
I think it's just the tap house. but they might brew that.
Everything
they have
I've seen from them
space.
is an IPA.
But yeah, they have a lot of IPAs. Their one beer though, it's a Belgian wheat, and
Nice.
it is one of my favorites I've ever had. It is it's a beer with pepper in it, and it's just got a nice little bite. It's White Magic of the Sun. Very worth
That
checking
sounds
out.
pleasant. It's a good name.
It's
I know I've seen like their Voodoo Love Child, their Hoodoo, Good Vibes, and they're all IPAs.
I don't think the Love Child's an IPA.
I think it is.
Oh, I don't know.
It might be like a triple or something, but I haven't tried it, but I've just seen it.
I'll have to check it
we
out
actually
again.
have it where I work.
I feel like I had it, and I don't remember being like, whoa, this is an IPA. So I also might be remembering
it
wrong.
could be always like your West Coast, like your juicy IPAs. I don't mind those. Yep, it's a Belgian triple, which
tight.
is something I actually like. So maybe I should give that one a try.
I would recommend it, especially since it's at your work. Heck yeah.
Yeah, I do enjoy triple style beers.
Enjoy juicy IPAs less than I enjoy regular IPAs.
Really, I enjoy them more, but I don't like them.
That's fair. I got one, and I think it was Voodoo Ranger, like one of theirs. And I got it because I know I like Voodoo Ranger's habanero and pumpkin beer.
Yeah, the Atomic Pumpkin, which was the first beer I reviewed.
It was, and it was very good. I liked it a lot. It's really good.
It's got a spice to it and a pumpkin to it, and that should be coming back pretty soon.
Oh, I'm excited about that.
Because I guess it's still only July, but it's like the end of July. It's like August is pretty much here.
Exactly. The fall is nearly here. It's already almost Halloween, people. Get ready.
Well, it's like 3 months because Halloween is the very end of October.
Yeah.
So I'm more of like it's almost fall, or it's almost like an October kind of guy, instead of it's almost Halloween.
That's valid.
I personally, although I like Halloween, I enjoy October as like a whole more than I enjoy Halloween.
I get that.
Because like fall has its own, like fall is like a season, but it feels like almost like October is a season half the time. Because the October vibes and the October like marketing and everything is just so different than like what they do in November. Because November is very like warm, very homey, very like
it's Thanksgiving marketing crossed
spiced
over with a little bit of Christmas.
Yeah, and there's maybe a little bit of Halloween residue in there, but like October is like all like just fall. Everything's fall. Like September, they're still like cooling it down off summer and school starting up, so it's kind of all based on that. But then like October is really like the fall month because everything's not about Thanksgiving, it's not about Christmas, it's not about. Sometimes it's about Halloween, but really that's only like towards the end of the month. So you get like the first couple weeks of October to just be about like, hey, let's do some pumpkin stuff. Let's do some scarves, maybe a leaf pile here or there.
Yeah.
And that's why October, I think, might be my favorite month. Also, my dad's birthday is October 1st.
Hey, that's a lot of good reasons to like October. Not gonna lie.
His birthday is the first day of October, and Halloween's the last day of October. Also, McCain has a Halloween birthday.
McCain has a. You know what? I feel like I knew that, and that's really cool. Shout out to McCain for a dope birthday.
So, weird fun fact. You know how I was talking earlier about that Halloween party I went to?
Yeah.
My friend whose band played actually like literally just messaged me for the first time in like a month.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Oh, that's wild.
Maybe his ears are itching or something.
Nice.
I don't think I've announced it yet, at least not on the podcast, but due to Jeff's contribution of organizing all of the beers that I have reviewed, I now have a list. So I have a spreadsheet made up with all of the beers I've reviewed, and I have then split into categories. So I've made it into 4 categories to keep it kind of like manageable, and that way I'm not, because I don't want to measure, natter days against something like subtlety, because they're not really the same. Like one of them is trying and one of them is natter days.
Exactly. You really can't compete.
Yes. So in order to kind of wipe out that level of competition, I've got the categories are novelty beers, which is your stuff like Natter Days. It's got the Atomic Pumpkin actually is considered that. Anything that's trying to be like seasonal or cutesy or has like a different twist on how beer normally works is in that category. Then we've got our biggest category by far, which is fruit beers. And actually you can see here, I reviewed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fruit beers in a row. So I don't know how that happened, but maybe 6 if you count the Daymaker. I counted it as a novelty because it was like a rosé ale that was trying to be champagne-y, and so I was like, well, that's a novelty. The other categories are your traditional beers, and there's only a couple of those. Those are your things I've reviewed, like Yingling and Sapporo, which are just like a standard like lager, a big name that are just, a straightforward beer, nothing crazy. And then the other category is your standard craft beers, which is what the Southern Tier Double IPA falls into. And it's all of your beers that are just kind of like from a craft brewery. I'm not going to like subdivide them into like craft like wheat beers, craft IPAs, because that's just too much at that
I feel
point.
like that's a dangerous slope to walk down, because then you're getting into more categories than it's worth having.
So I think the 4 is good because you can really encompass most every beer under those categories, at least that I personally drink and review. Also, there's dark beer. I don't think I mentioned that. I do have like dark beers like stouts and porters.
Yeah.
So I guess that makes for 5 categories. So I think you can encompass most every beer in those 5 categories. And there is a natural bias to things. So, like, for example, this IPA is probably not going to rank highly. And I think I'm going to do them on a scale of 1 to 20, or maybe just a tier list. I could just do a tier list. That sounds like a good time.
There you go. Because I feel like certain beers, like, they can hold the same spot even if you don't regard them the same. And I feel like, because, like, Natter Days, you really enjoyed it. And if you're putting that up against, like, another, like, novelty beer that you enjoyed, like, what do you call it? Like Atomic Pumpkin, for example. They might... I don't know if they would rank in the same spot, but I would argue that they are nowhere near worthy to hold the same spot if you were like ranking them in one way. But on a tier list,
on a simple scale, but you can be like, these are both A tier or S tier or B tier.
Exactly.
Beers.
And that's fine because, that's different in my opinion.
We're going to tier them. And like there is obviously that natural bias. So it's like, I don't like IPAs. So like this double IPA is going to be super low on the tier list.
Exactly.
Because it's like no matter what, I'm not gonna like it because it's an IPA.
It'll rank above some other IPAs since you are enjoying it more than.
Yeah, but that means I have to review more IPAs, and I'm not gonna do that.
That's fair.
Because the only other one was the Atomic Pumpkin, and that's a novelty beer because it's habanero and pumpkin, which I'm excited for that to come back. Honestly, that was a good beer.
I am too.
So there is a brewery in Ashtabula. Called Clove Hoof, and I think you would love it, Noah.
Really?
The owner is a huge like metalhead.
Oh, I guess I could have guessed that from Clove Hoof, but
yeah. So all of the beers are like named after different like metal bands or just different like kind of not necessarily satanic, but like like your
the
dark
vibes.
They're kind of like bad vibes, man. Like we got their Bean Baptism was one of them. That was fun. And he did a beer. It's a wheat beer, and it's got I think poblano chilies in it.
Ooh.
And I think that's it. It's just like it's a chili pepper beer. I haven't been able to try it because he doesn't have. It's not bottled. It's just like at the tap house. Because it's a pretty small operation. Like they don't do bottled beer.
Yeah.
They just do kegs.
What?
So like where I work, occasionally we'll get a keg from them. But yeah, they're a real small operation.
I'm definitely gonna have to try and check that out.
I haven't been to the tap house yet because it's one of those where it's kind of open weird hours. It's like 4 to 10, like 4 days a week.
I don't like that. Jeff has a brewery right near where he lives, and he and I have been trying to visit there for ages, and we have not managed to because they're only open Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yeah.
And neither of us want to go out drinking on a Thursday because I have work in the morning and he is working at night. And then Friday, same deal. Saturday, we're both free, but I tend to be busy with like band stuff and things like that. So we haven't made the time to do it yet. Kind of sucks.
Yeah, I honestly don't get out to breweries as much as I'd like. It's just kind of like the hours are always weird, and working like the service industry, I work during all peak restaurant hours, and breweries typically operate only during peak restaurant hours.
Which is a bit of a downside.
We should start doing like off the air, like monthly trips to like a Cleveland brewery or something. Because there's a whole bunch of cool ones out there.
I'm going to be honest. I'm fully down for that. Not going to lie.
We'll just schedule a day and go. There's some cool ones I want to visit, like Fatheads. That seems like a good one. Double Wing is in Madison. They make some cool stuff. That Butterpecan Porter was from them. And apparently at the tap house only, they have like a peanut butter beer.
Ooh.
So I want to see that in person.
I kind of want to as well.
So I haven't ranked the beers yet, but I have them all on a spreadsheet and they're categorized. So now that I know how I'm going to rank them, I'll probably get on that later tonight.
Yeah.
It's gonna be exciting having a definitive sheet. I just don't know the best way to share that with viewers. Perhaps I don't know. I don't really want to start like a blog for it because I'm bad at that. I can tweet it out maybe something like that. Like,
we can make
a screenshot of it.
If you do it on like Google Sheets, we can make a link so that they can see it, but they can't do anything to it.
Just make it publicly viewable.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it doesn't like give them like all my information.
No, because we could set it up on the podcast.
All right, works for me.
There we go. Look at us making plans.
What are they going to do? Use the podcast email to email us?
I mean, I guess they could, but it's not really. They're not really going to get much out of it.
Yeah, I was going to say, you might as well just message in the Discord. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if you
it's
should.
Not like we're unreachable. Even you interact in the Discord from time to time.
It's true. I did that last night.
Yeah. Oh man, if y'all weren't here, you missed out. Jackson popped into anime night, and it was a very good time. I had fun, at least.
It was all right. I was kind of under the influence.
Yeah, we noticed.
And then I watched. I think I announced it too, like several times.
Mm-hmm.
Then I watched the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 5 finale with Edge and Brian.
Yeah,
that was cool. That was a good time.
I figured you would have a good time with them. Yeah,
it's one of those, like, the ending to that arc is always is like like they ended on like a really weird note. Not because not like a side note. They're just like, hey, we're gonna the last like 2 episodes are gonna be a flashback arc.
I don't know. That feels weird.
It does. It's not the best ending. Honestly, Araki, the creator of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, is world's biggest genius or the dumbest man alive, and I have no idea which one it is. But he very well could be either, and maybe both.
Valid, I suppose.
Because he'll just do things, and like, especially in the later parts, like the farther the show goes, the more he starts to be like, yeah, this is happening, and then just like write something in.
Mm-hmm.
Like for example, in part 7, the main villain wants to gather a mummified corpse so he can deflect all negative thoughts towards the United States of America.
Oh,
or away from the United States of America. So he wants to give all the bad vibes sent to the U.S. to other countries.
That's a plot for sure.
He also has a train that makes him escape dimensions.
Oh,
so in part 6, a man can make it rain little critters that'll kill you if they touch you.
As you do.
In part 8, there's a model of the White House named Ozone Baby that can control air density.
I don't know how to feel about that.
Not good, I would say.
I would agree. Not good.
It's but it's also like a really fun story, and it like spans generations, and it's a good time. But it's one of those where I think the fanboys take it way too seriously. Like you gotta look at it and be like, yeah, this is silly. This is inherently silly and incredibly homoerotic. Oh
yeah, no, for sure. That's literally the only thing that I knew about JoJo was everyone stood in backbreaking positions, and everyone was definitely straight TM, but also definitely not.
Well, part 3, they were definitely like big straight boys, but then after part 3, they just like, because in part 3 everybody's like a huge like buff dude who's out for blood, and then part 4 everybody's like a little high schooler just kind of like hanging out, and part 5 onward everybody's just gay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are your character traits? Gay.
Oh, okay.
They're just, and it's fantastic. I absolutely love it. They're just like a whole bunch of, like, it goes from like these big beefcakes like exploring the desert to beat up a vampire to being like a whole bunch of gay mobsters want to get an arrow so they can sell drugs to only adults, no kids.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a time. It's an adventure. Part 8 is actually just Twin Peaks, but this time, if you open the door, it gets really cold.
Mm-hmm.
And that power is named Born This Way after Lady Gaga.
As you do.
Mm-hmm. So,
man, I really do absolutely adore the names of the various stands.
There's also Doggy Style.
Never mind. Album. I take it back. I don't adore that name at all.
Soft and Wet is the main character stand.
Like
How do you not love Soft and Wet? It'll go full circle when instead of Soft and Wet, they name the stand Simple and Clean.
Mm-hmm.
I've never played Kingdom Hearts before.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I played a little bit of Kingdom Hearts 2 on my friend's older brother's PS2 when I was a kid, but I never had a PlayStation growing up. I was always a GameCube or Xbox guy.
Mm-hmm.
And now I have a PS4 and pretty much just that. No, actually, you know what? I have my Switch, and on which I am playing Fire Emblem 3 Houses currently. In fact, I was playing it as Noah and I got in the call to start recording today.
It is true. This did happen.
It is a lot of fun. I like the characters, and I can't wait to end up having to kill the enemies in battle.
You have not done that yet?
Well, I mean, no, like so the plot is you're a high school teacher. So it's Persona 5, but instead of being a high school student, who can bang the teacher. You're now a high school teacher who bangs the students. Thank you for coming to my TED. Okay, so that's not actually correct. How it really works is you're a high school teacher, basically, and you are teaching in an officer's academy. So in reality, they're not like high schoolers. They're like probably like 18, 19 or whatever. And you can like take charge of one of the 3 houses, hence the name of the game. Mm-hmm. And your houses are the Black Eagles, the Blue Lions, and the Golden Deer. The Black Eagles are like a huge empire that is run by an emperor. The Blue Lions are a kingdom that is run by a holy royal family. And then the Golden Deer are just communists. Mm-hmm. So I picked the Golden Deer because
no, but of course.
So it is funny though, because there's the it's like the holy kingdom of Fargus is like the royal knights and whatnot. The Adrestian Empire is like the Black Eagles, mm-hmm. and the Golden Deer, they're called the Leicester Alliance.
Okay.
So like they're basically just like a whole bunch of families who like join together and have like no one true ruler. It's great. They're just communists.
Nice. I like that a lot.
So I picked those lads. Also, their leader, Cloud. He is best husbando. He is absolutely lovable, and he's great. He's a little charmer. He's my best friend. And there's a horse girl on the golden team. That's literally like her special ability is if she gets to hang out near horses, mm-hmm. she gets extra health regen.
That's fantastic.
So, and she doesn't really talk much, and she's weird. So she's basically just a horse girl. So I'm probably gonna marry her.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. That makes sense.
It's a good time though. But so as a teacher, you take control of one of these 3 houses, mm-hmm. and then you train them, and you do like mock battle against the other houses, and you have to like go fight groups of bandits and stuff. And there's the central enemy. But I haven't played through the game, but there is a time skip. Mm-hmm. So about halfway through the game, there's a 5-year time skip, and after which you basically reunite with your students. Mm-hmm. So like the teaching portion ends, and then the actual like imperial portion begins, where you like work with their alliance or their kingdom or their empire to, I don't know if they're at war with the other empires or if they're at war with a central antagonist. But part of me wants them to be at war with the other empires, because I really just want to like team up with my communist boys and just like literally murder the people that I've been going to school with for the last year.
Nice.
I don't really know how it's going to go from there, because that's like 40 hours into the game and I'm only like 10 in. But it's a lot of fun. I think it improves upon a lot of the stuff that was people hated in Fates and Awakening, and brings it back to like a more like your traditional Fire Emblem games, while also leaving in your options for things like romance, should you want to like get married to a student or something after they've graduated. But yeah, that's what I was saying. You're not really dating your students, because you can only like get married and stuff after the 5-year time skip. Mm-hmm. And you're basically the same age as them. You're not like an old dude. So it's not like weird or creepy or predatory.
That is comforting. I'll be honest.
Yeah, I'm glad that they made it so there has to be like a 5-year time skip before you're allowed to like do any of that stuff. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because then everyone's like 25 and you're an adult.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good game so far. I think that the characters are pretty well written for a Fire Emblem game. I mean, they're still like monotone, kind of like they're all one-note characters.
I feel like that is the general issue
JRPGs
with
kind of do that.
Yeah.
So I mean, honestly, like, Persona 5 is really well written, and there's a lot of character development. Mm-hmm. And I can't say that there isn't in this game, because I don't know. But it seems like every time the characters interact with you, they use like the same line. You can predict what they're going to say, mm-hmm. which to me, I'd rather have the game be, because it's a learning experience. You're a teacher. I'd rather have it be so you could like teach the students, and you could like, maybe make them open up or learn different things or interact with each other differently. And maybe there's like some tidbits of that, but I also understand that from a game development standpoint, that's like near impossible to do, to make it so every character has nuanced dialogue options that change depending on the way you interact with them, especially when the game itself is basically 3 games in one. Because if you choose, like I chose the Golden Deer, so I get minimal interaction with like the Black Eagles and the Blue Lions.
Yeah.
But then if I play through it again after this, I can pick like the Black Eagles or the Blue Lions, and then I'll have minimal interactions with, the other classes. So I get that there is a lot to developing that, and there's a lot of stuff going on in the game. So I think that's neat, because what they did with like Fates is the Fire Emblem game itself was actually divided into Conquest and Birthright. So it was 2 games, like like how your Pokemon like Red and Blue go out. Mm-hmm. So if you picked one game, you fought with the one family. If you picked the other game, you fought with the other family. Mm-hmm. And they released a 3rd option as DLC. So basically, to play each storyline, you had to pay. Whereas in this one, the base game is all the storylines. So that's kind of neat. And I just hope that they didn't skimp out on them as a result. Although I have heard good things about the late game, I'm just not there.
Yeah,
So,
I have heard a lot of good things.
It's really fun so far. I mean, I like the teaching aspect. I like that you can train your students individually.
Mm-hmm.
So like the classing and whatnot is a much more like personal. And it's not as cutscene heavy because you go through like your days and stuff, and during your days you like interact with them and you can like do stuff and train your students.
Yeah.
So that's cool. I like that they did that.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think the game looks really pretty. Like it's a very nice looking Fire Emblem game.
Mm-hmm.
It's a huge jump up from like the previous games where you had like a pixel sprite on the battlefield on the bottom screen of your DS.
Yeah.
And now you actually have like HD sprites in combat that have like animations, and they had animations and stuff before, but they were like 160p. Like it was bad. But like the gameplay always has carried Fire Emblem so heavily,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm happy to say that this game has really good gameplay as well as really neat character design and in-game animations. So
Yeah.
it's a good experience so far. I'm excited to get more into it, but yeah, it's a process, you know. Because at the same time, I got this game a couple days before I had gotten Nier Automata on Steam because it was on sale.
I've heard also nothing but good things about that.
I've only played like 4 hours of it, but it already seems to me it's kind of like they're just gonna hit you with like the stoner arguments from 10th grade where it's just like, yo, bro, if you replace every part of your human body with a robot body, are you still a human, man?
Mm-hmm.
Sure, I don't know. Whatever. Like the whole point of the game. I mean, it's really fun. It's really pretty, really well written, and awesome music too. But it just seems like the whole like center theme of the game so far has just been like, what does it mean to be a human and to be alive? If you're reborn with your consciousness in another body, are you still the same person you were before? To which I say yeah, because I, as Jackson, know that if you were like, hey, this is like Soma. I don't know if you played Soma or not. It's kind of scary, but not too scary.
Yeah.
There's like the overarching theme is like there's this thing where like they put your consciousness into a robot, but there's a chance that like you keep on living and the robot like basically also keeps on living.
Ooh.
So there's a chance they just hit copy paste and keep both files. And obviously that brings up the question of, was the original plan to copy and then kill you? Like what would have happened to you? Like because nothing changes, but sometimes both copies live and sometimes only one does. So it's a neat idea, but
That does
it's
sound pretty
also neat. Like I think as Jacksons, we have all convinced, we've all accepted, and I'm saying we because I'm talking about Jackson and his potential future clones.
Yeah.
That of his consciousness, we've all accepted that we all exist for the good of Jackson as a whole. So if there's me in a robot body, I, in my conscious state now, am fine with that because I understand that I, as a being, live on, whether or not my body does. So even though I'm unable to think if my human body dies, but my robot body lives, I understand that my robot body is still thinking the same way I would have thought, and I trust them. I trust Robot Jackson.
Yeah.
That's the moral of the story.
All right.
Trust Robot Jackson.
I don't have any idea how to transition out of that. That was
Yeah, no, it's a really weird we were talking about Fire Emblem like a minute ago.
Yeah. And then
like 60 seconds ago I talked about
on Nier for 2 seconds and then this. Yeah, you know what? Yeah. All right. I'll accept this.
It's your old Ships of Theseus, which is a nice little think piece.
I've always enjoyed that one.
I think it's neat.
Because there are certain things that I like that one specifically. If I didn't know that it was like supposed to be like a greater question kind of thing, and it was just like if someone said, "Hey, if you replaced every part of a boat, is it the same boat?" Yeah, I wouldn't know that, and I probably would be
but
like,
"Do you know?"
Nah, not really.
A greater question.
But do I what?
But do you know as a greater question? Do you have like an answer to the idea of Ships of Theseus? Do you have an
I don't know. I
an
feel
answer as
personally,
as Noah?
I feel like it could go either way because I feel like certain things I would say no, and other things I would say yes, and I don't know where that line exists. And I feel like in my head, it would turn into a timing thing. You know, like how long has this thing been part of a change?
To what extent is that identifying as what it is? Because if I, change every part of me out for a robot, but my consciousness remains the same, I think I'm still Jackson.
Yeah.
Because I, as far as my functionality, I am mentally, but maybe I have like robot powers now, which would be cool.
Yeah. Oh no, most certainly.
But then with things like a ship, I think it's as long as the ship remains functionally the same and has just undergone replacement. I think it's the same ship. Because it serves the same purpose, and though it may be made of different materials, I think for a ship, the identity of of the ship is not as important as the function. That's why they probably use Theseus' ship, because it has a significance. He sailed. Who did he marry? He married
I knew this.
It wasn't Arachne. That was the spider lady.
Yeah.
Ariadne. Is Ariadne.
Yep.
Speaking of which, I actually have been listening to an audiobook about that kind of stuff.
Oh, really?
I have, and I don't have the name of it off the top of my head, but it is by Joseph Campbell, and it is about. I think it is The Hero with a Thousand Faces. So it's basically just the idea of the hero's journey, and like the way that mythology and like modern religion use like the same story for pretty much everything throughout history. It's just like an analysis of that story and why that our human brains immediately go to crafting that story as opposed to others. It's neat.
Yeah,
it's a good time.
Okay.
It's like a 15-hour read though, so download with caution at audibletrial.com/off the air.
Yeah, there you go. I personally am a big fan of longer books if I'm going to listen to them. When I'm reading, sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, I just want to read, let it happen. So it goes either way for me.
Yeah, I haven't really had a time where I've just like I don't know, reading to me for like the past couple books I've read has been like entertaining and exciting, but also like almost a chore. Like it doesn't feel like it's not something I want to keep doing. Like I have to like remind myself, like stop looking at your phone, like go back to reading.
Right.
And it's been like probably a year and a half, 2 years since I've had like a reading experience where I literally just like sat down and didn't want to stop. And I think the last time I did that was when I read Slaughterhouse-Five. I was like, yeah. And that was like the last time I think I've had a really like incredibly like engrossing reading experience. It's been a minute since I've had something like that. So
that's really neat.
Maybe I just need to find the right books, but I think it's also because I've been reading much longer books. Slaughterhouse-Five the version of it was like 6 inches by 5 inches, so it's a small book, and it was only like 200 pages. It's not a huge story.
Yeah. No.
Whereas like currently I'm still reading Crime and Punishment, which is like a 900 page huge novel with split into like 3 different books.
No, that is
so obviously that's not one you can just read. Yeah, I don't know. It's been a little minute since I've been sucked into a book. Kind of had to put myself in them, but I've also been reading much more like introspective and kind of like big question asking books, and less just like stories. Whereas I think Slaughterhouse-Five is a book that really well manages to be both.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
So the story itself sucks you in.
I remember hearing about that. They made a movie about it, ?
Sure.
I think that's how I originally heard about it, and then the people who were reviewing the movie were like, but if you're going to watch the movie, you would be doing yourself a disservice not to also read the book. And I'm like, oh,
I don't know if they did make a movie.
I also might be confusing it with a different one, but I don't know.
I don't see. Yeah, I'm not seeing an adaptation. Okay, a film adaptation in 1972. That's probably not it.
No, that probably is it, actually.
Nope. Yeah, 1972. It was a box office flop.
I believe that.
And Kurt Vonnegut himself liked it a lot.
And that's always cool. I like that.
Guillermo del Toro wanted to do a remake of it, but he ended up not doing it because of The Hobbit.
That was it. That was what I remember hearing.
Thanks, The Hobbit. Although recently they did do a Hulu series of Catch-22, which is another famous book that's, not the same, but it's a book about war. So
I think I remember hearing about Catch-22, but it was like, did you ever watch Lost? I can't remember if we talked about this.
I have not watched Lost, no.
All right, so, I mean, the whole show is just a convoluted mess, but there was this one part in the show where someone was reading Catch-22, and that, because Lost is nothing if not incredibly subtle, and that played very heavily into the next, season. I don't know. It was a good time. I liked it.
Catch-22 is one of those things where it is a book that has actually become... It's one of those things that's transcended its original body of work. Everybody knows what a Catch-22 means. If you're like, oh, you're really giving me a Catch-22 here, everybody gets it. But very few people, I would say, are familiar with the source material to a degree where they're aware of its existence and what it is.
I would agree. With
some
that
people
statement.
might be like, yeah, it's a book, right? But yeah, everyone knows the unwinnable situation where damned if you do, damned if you don't, basically.
Yep.
So maybe the Hulu series will get more people open to the original idea of it.
Would be pretty cool, not gonna lie.
Would be pretty cool.
I don't know, I feel like in general, I feel like Hulu's been doing a lot of decent series recently. I have not watched a lot of them, but I have
Letterkenny.
They do. Freaking heck, I love Letterkenny. I finally have watched it, and it was a very good time. I love the humor. It's just the right amount of like dry.
Yeah, it's really good. But there's like a hipster part of my brain that every time people talk to me about it now is like screaming that like it's just becoming the next Office.
It is, but the lucky thing about it is it's not family friendly enough to really become the next Office.
Yeah, it's true. You can't really show that to your kids. Well, yeah, you can. I would, but you know.
Whereas like The Office, I feel like that was real big because it was just very accessible to everybody.
Yeah, and Letterkenny is very funny, and it's a smart show too. It's really well written.
Oh yeah, for sure.
What else is a Hulu original? I think they have The Handmaid's Tale, but I haven't really watched that.
They have that. I've heard good things about that.
I've heard good things.
They also have that
don't have time.
Stephen King series. I don't remember what it's called off the top of my head.
That doesn't really bode well, but okay.
It's pretty good from what I've heard.
Okay,
another thing that's pretty good is Into the Dark, their horror series.
I've heard and seen that, but isn't that like an anthology though? So it's not really like a show.
Yeah, it's an anthology series, more of just like a bunch of movies that sit under the same label, but they're not really connected. Yeah, it's kind of like Black Mirror, I suppose, but it's very nice. I like it a lot because you don't tend to always get a lot of, I don't know, you don't always tend to get a lot of nice horror properties, and it's I don't know, it's cool to see,
especially on streaming services.
Yeah, that's a biggie. One spot where you get them, there's like a horror specific streaming service, Shudder, and you can get some decent stuff there. They have this one show it's a sci-fi show though, is the thing, and it's called Channel Zero. Very good time. I like it a lot. Yeah,
and honestly, I think at this point, Netflix is like famous for having bad horror movies. So if they change that, people would like riot.
Yeah, it is unfortunate. They have a few good ones that I've actually very, very much enjoyed. But at the same time, I'm not about to sit here and say that they put out great content on there all the time, because they don't.
Yeah, they have the one about like Finland Deer Man. You know what I'm talking about?
Finland Deer Man. The Ritual?
Yeah, that's it.
I actually did enjoy The Ritual a lot.
I thought it was really cool.
I didn't like the ending.
Big Moose Monster.
Yeah, I kind of hated the Big Moose Monster, not gonna lie.
I love Big Moose Monster. That's my friend.
I liked him because he was very weird, but I did not enjoy him because there were a lot of things where I looked at him like, I would have rather had something a little more comfortable.
I think 20% more moose would have been good. Actually, scratch that. I think a moose would have been better.
You know, I'm angry because I can't really disagree with you.
But like a big moose. Like a moose are already big, but I'm talking like a huge moose.
A huge moose?
Like, yeah. Because, I mean, as it is, I think I liked the creature because it reminded me of pretty much every single, like, green-black magic card I've ever seen. Like, it's
you know what, that's valid. That's valid.
Kind of spooky, definitely creaturey.
And that's about it.
Oh, and I always run like mono green decks whenever I played Magic back in the day. So I always loved like your big moose monsters.
Big moose monster.
So I think that's why I liked it.
Actually, big moose monster and horror movies. That reminds me. So one of the reasons we recorded so early was because I was heading to Seattle last week, and when the episode came out, I was going to be in the air, not home yet.
Not off the air.
No, not off the air, up in the air. But one of the things I got to do while I was in Seattle was I visited the Museum of Pop Culture, Mopop, and they had what originally was supposed to be like a temporary horror exhibit that ended up turning into a permanent fixture. And hoo boy, that place was cool. They also had like a sci-fi room, so you got Alien split between those two rooms. You got like the full creature design. It was such a good time to go there. I got to see like props. I got to see, my personal favorite was the Hellraiser puzzle box was there. So I got to take like an actual like close look at that thing.
Did you get to open it?
I did not. It was behind an inch of glass, but
unlucky.
I know, right? It did bum me out a little bit, but they had like little rooms set up on the side where you could see like famous horror type people, talking about different horror movies. So I actually got to, I walked by one as they were talking about the original Suspiria, And I was really excited because
That's my favorite Phil Collins song. Suspiria.
I was wondering if that's what you were going to go into.
Yeah, it was Suspiria.
Mm-hmm. But I loved the remake of Suspiria. It was very good and it was different, and I appreciated that. But the original, they have this creature at the end, and it's just a very unsettling image. It's a person who basically got turned into a voodoo doll, and they got
That
pins,
happens.
like big round-ended pins, coming out of their eyes. And I've always wondered how they did it, because that person, like, I mean, clearly they're walking around like they can't see anything, but at the same time, like,
You would not want to fall over with that makeup on.
exactly. But it looks so good, and it did such a great job of just being unsettling. Yeah, it made me very happy, and I got to walk in just in time for them to be talking about the movie. So I got to show that. They showed that scene for just like 2 seconds at the end, and I got to show that off. And be like, yeah, that is my favorite scene of the movie.
That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Nina mentioned there's a whole bunch of alien and aliens type things happening there.
That is incredibly true. There was a lot of stuff for Alien and aliens there. What do you call in the one area? There's a bunch of like just the equipment that they had, and then in the other area, in the horror, because that was in the sci-fi area, they had the equipment and a couple of different things, and then they in the horror zone had the alien, and it had the face hugger and an egg.
That's pretty cool though.
Mm-hmm.
Like the egg with like the 4 little opening things.
Yep, one of those dudes. It was
That's
nice.
exciting though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see that because I'm a huge Aliens fan.
Mm-hmm.
And Alien. I think I rank Alien above Aliens, but they both rank very highly for me.
Yeah, no, that's fair. They're both good. I like them both. I would say that they're probably the best movies of the series.
I mean, yeah, Alien 3 is not good.
No.
Alien Resurrection
I was
is
about to
bad.
say Resurrection is questionable at best.
Like Alien 3, I've heard people say some good things about it. I know some people like it,
Mm-hmm.
but no, it's nobody's favorite and nobody thinks it's great.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like Alien Resurrection, everybody thinks is terrible.
Yeah.
And Alien Covenant is all right.
Mm-hmm. There's just some things that are objectively bad, and Alien Resurrection is one of them.
Yeah, like just everything about like a human alien hybrid just isn't bad.
It made me unhappy.
And then it gets like the old suck.
Mm-hmm.
That's bad. I think Resurrection is one of the guy like makes out with the alien through glass.
Mm-hmm.
That's like why did they do that?
Yeah, there's just a lot of things.
And
about
it's one of those things where I get it. You're trying to go for like some like primal understanding of what humanity is and the things that we seek out or whatever. But like, don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like
I don't think that's
make
too much
Sigourney
to
Weaver
ask.
fight, but like not necessarily fight, but like strategically move around and like do thing good.
Mm-hmm.
Don't make man kiss alien. That doesn't make me understand anything about the primal nature of humans.
No,
that just makes me think that was a weird choice. How did production let you do that?
Mm-hmm.
Not wow, so deep.
There's so many movies that just like give me that vibe of why'd you do that, buddy? I don't like that at all. And I know I'm never gonna get an answer.
Movies do that. Like I hate whenever any movie goes for like a really bad attempt at like trying to describe the duality of man or something like that. And then when you're like, yeah, I thought that was bad. People are like, you just don't get it because they're actually describing deep concepts. I'm like, no, I get it. I just think it's bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's okay to be like, you went for something and it was a huge miss. You swung and you did not hit it. You struck out. You have to go home. You're out of the game. Red card.
Mm-hmm. And you know, I will respect people that try, even if they miss. But then there's some misses that are they're just a little too much of a miss for me. And
yeah, it's just like, especially when you look at it and you're not just like, this is a mistake. You're like, this is a mistake that was in production for months, went through multiple editors, went through multiple executive and regular producers, and nobody was like, hey, man, this sucks.
Exactly.
Oh, I don't know. And I think it's one of those things where sometimes like big directors get away with it more because your like production staff is afraid to be like, hey, man, this sucks. So instead they're like, okay, we'll let it happen.
Yeah, that I don't know. There's a lot of instances that I know that a lot of failings in movies are just because I do enjoy the fact, by the way, that we're talking about like movies when Dan is not here. I think that's really funny. But
ain't that how it be?
I do there's a lot of movies that I know that like there's so much good potential that just didn't quite make it because the studio just could not keep their nose out of it. And it
and
makes
that's
me
the opposite end of the spectrum, and like that's definitely a problem too. Because like you got your one hand where like the studio doesn't say please don't, and you got your other hand where the studio is like you can't do anything at all.
Which I know you're not a fan of like superhero movies in general, and that's fair. But that is definitely the falling of the DC superhero movies, because the Marvel ones.
Yeah, I heard Zack Snyder's entire movie got deleted when he did all of his DC Universe movies. I heard like the studio actually like because he didn't get the directing credit on I think Batman vs Superman. He got like a co-directing credit even though he directed the full movie, because they cut like half of his stuff and like reshot it to make it more like internationally friendly, I guess.
And I don't think it's too much to say that that's kind of a coward move.
It's a coward move. Also, the biggest coward move of all time is I'm sure you're aware that in Endgame there is a scene where a same sex couple interacts.
Oh, I got opinions about that too.
Yeah, I'm sure you're aware also that it only existed in the US and in all international versions of the film that was cut because they wanted to like get the representation credit, but actually not represent anything because they wanted to make it so it would be easily digestible. In countries like Russia and China, we were not allowed to have anything same sex in a movie.
You know what? I did not hear about that, but my beef with
it's
it,
abhorrent.
Yeah, my beef with it was totally different. My issue was that rather than actually cast someone who is like, I lost my train of thought there. Rather than actually cast someone who is like part of that community, that was the director, because who is not. He is very much straight. If my memory of the interviews I've read is accurate, and he wanted to play that role because he wanted to make sure that that was like an appearance that happened and that representation was shown, but he then used himself for the representation. And that feels off and self-serving to me.
I mean, yeah, but the whole thing was self-serving because they didn't.
Right.
Marvel doesn't care. I mean, they're not like, hey, we haven't been allies of the LGBTQ community forever, but today we are in a 10-second scene that will absolutely be cut from all international versions of the film. That's nothing. Like, all you're doing is trying to pander to people who are just gonna be like, oh, a Superman said gay good. That means I'm good now. Like you're just trying to be bad. You're scumbags. You're bad people. And if you want to talk about it, be about it. Don't put a scene where like two dudes hold hands and then cut. Put a unique, I don't know, like a main acting character have a same-sex relationship that is portrayed as healthy and not simply sexual. But whatever. Iron Man make money.
Accurate.
But yeah, no, they're never going to do that, though. At least not until China changes its laws, because that's where, like, China provides international, like, blockbuster movies with so much money. That's why your highest-grossing movies internationally are always things like Transformers. That's why they made 5 of them. Those things made so much money in China.
Not a lot of money over here.
China really
but they made loads of money over there.
China loves Transformers, and hell yeah, China, good for you. I support it. 13-year-old Jackson loved them too, so I don't blame you. But I mean, also internationally, they don't have as big of like a critic scene. So there's not as much backlash when people in studios and production take a lazy way out. So there's not as much of like a desire for a story there. They're really just there to see like the explosions and have a good time. And I think U.S. audiences are a lot like that too. But like, your critics get so much clout that it ends up being able to balance things out a little bit. Just unfortunate. Yeah, the general moral of the story is Marvel are cowards who only want to pander to the audiences they're selling things to, because it's Disney and it's a giant business owned by Disney, and they seek only to make money from whoever they can. Not to represent or care about anyone, because that doesn't get you any money.
Did you hear that the top 5 films of the summer are all Disney movies?
Yeah, I could have guessed that.
Yeah.
Is The Lion King one of them?
I don't believe
Please
it is.
Please tell me
yet.
The Lion King's not one of them.
Aladdin is one of them. I don't think The Lion King is yet.
Good, because I have not heard a good thing about that movie.
I have not either.
I've heard many bad things, and I've seen many abhorrent clips.
All I've heard is that it is basically a shot-for-shot, line-for-line remake. And you know what? That's fine, but it only made it objectively worse because you can't show emotions on a photorealistic animal.
None of them feel. None of them. Simba has dead eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Simba feels nothing.
And it's like,
Simba is me.
I get it because, that's what realistically.
They're cowards for not making it actually lions.
Mm-hmm.
Then I would have watched. If you could get a lion, a warthog, and a meerkat to hang out and film it, I would watch that.
So the first time I heard about the live action remake of The Lion King, it did not occur to me that they would be doing CGI lions, because why would they call that a live action remake? I thought that they were going to make a human version of The Lion King, and I thought that's why they were doing a live action remake.
I hate the Broadway Lion King. It is the scariest thing that's ever existed, and I hate it. That's all.
I am not familiar with the Broadway Lion King.
It's scary. Everyone has like weird masks on and face paint.
I don't like
and
that.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
See, I thought that they were going to change it into into something that made sense. Like a story.
Just look up Lion King on Broadway. I'm looking up Lion King.
Okay. Real quick. I thought they were going to turn it into like a story about like an African tribe or something.
Just images. Yeah, I do not like it. It's neat, and the costume design, I get it and I respect it, but I don't like it. It's also, honestly, it's not as bad as I remember it being. I remember it. Yeah, this is hate. I'm just gonna share this particular image with you. You can go ahead and put this on the screen. Viewer beware, you're in for a scare. I don't know. It's very uncanny valley when you get things like this. Like a lot of the actors actually look really cool, but then see what I'm talking about? That's a very uncanny valley, uncomfortable. But then some of the stuff really cool. Like for example, I think this is dope. You can put that on the screen. Viewer, don't be afraid. This is pretty cool.
That's actually cool.
The first image, terrifying, and I hate it. But did we talk? Speaking of uncanny valley, did we talk about cats last week?
We didn't.
Can we? Because I'm gonna tell you straight up, I think it's gonna be lit. I'm excited, and here's why. Have you ever seen the actual Broadway appearance of Cats? Let me pull it up here. But if you've never seen the way that the actors look on Broadway playing Cats, you don't understand that this movie looks good. You compare it to I'm gonna share this image with you too. Viewer beware, you're in for Thundercats or whatever. I don't know. Just like this is what the Broadway production looks like.
And it looks good.
Okay, it looks the same as the movie, if not slightly more hair metal, which makes it worse in my book. That's just like a Thundercats promo. But like, I don't know, like Cats has never looked great. It's always been uncanny valley weird having people dressed as cats. So like when they had like the trailer for the movie, I watched it and I was like, yeah, this looks about right. So my take is, I don't think it's going to be good, but I think it's going to be true to the source material, which is wild. It's a discarded T.S. Eliot poem that he had written for like his grandson or nephew.
I did hear that.
Yeah, so
see, my issue with it,
cats dance until one of them gets taken to heaven. I'm here for it.
No, see, my issue with it is that Rebel Wilson's in it, and I just really do not enjoy her.
I like Pitch Perfect, and I like Pitch Perfect 2. I don't think they're good, but I like them. So I don't love Rebel Wilson or anything, but I don't hate her.
I don't know. I just find her to be very not funny because I feel like her jokes are very consistently not good. Yeah,
I do feel like she does. She's kind of got like the Johnny Depp where like you just do the same thing in every movie and you can only get away with that for so long. So yeah, I would say I put Rebel Wilson in the same tier of actors as Johnny Depp, which I'm going to say is like B tier, in that like they're talented and I get it, but you gotta do something else. You gotta find another shtick.
Yeah, I will agree with that. I don't know. And no, I guess I got nothing to say to that.
Rebel Wilson was also in Bridesmaids, wasn't she? Because not gonna lie, kind of love Bridesmaids too.
Not familiar.
Maybe I like Rebel. Maybe Rebel Wilson's like B tier. I don't know. Maybe she's. I don't think she's carrying any of the movies, because she's usually a supporting role. But,
yeah. Although,
yeah, I will agree with that. I don't really like the one note actors who just do the same thing in every movie they're in. And there's not that many of them, but it's usually pretty apparent when you see one.
Although we should be wrapping up now because we're closing in on the episode being too long for me to upload, so I'm gonna have to cut some of this.
It is way longer than I thought it was. Yeah, there's definitely stuff to cut in there.
Oh, yeah.
So let's go to an episode. My name is Jackson. You can find me at twitter.com/Jacksonium, Instagram.com/Jacksonium. Those are both with 2 M's. And yeah, that's where you can find me 7 days a week. Noah, where can they find you?
Oh, you can find me on pretty much everything as Bubba the Bad, BUBBADABAD. I got stuff going on, different places, but, also not. It's pretty chill. That's about it. More importantly, though, the podcast is no longer banned from Twitter, which, hallelujah,
true,
best
back.
News. You can follow us on Twitter at The Off the Air. You can also follow us on Facebook at OTA Podcast and patreon.com/Off the Air. Now, you don't have to give us money, especially because right now we're doing a, if I may say so, pretty poor job of delivering on some of our bonus content because we just haven't got around to it yet. We do have 2 people subbed to that tier, so we will get around to it eventually. But if you don't want to support that way, you can support us by going to Apple Podcasts or your other favorite podcast listening spot and just shoot us a review. If you do it on Apple Podcasts, I will read your review out as long as it's like cool. And if you do it somewhere else, shoot me a picture of the review and I will read it out for you then too. I guess that's about it.
That's it, guys.
Hey, thanks for listening. Catch you next week.
I'll never forget you.
I might, but that's my bad memory.